Welcome to the Root of Power podcast, where I teach you how to chase your joy, find alignment, and create a life and a business that you love, using actionable methods, interviews, and inspiring stories from people who know that true freedom is found within. I'm your host, your always hype woman and sometimes ass kicker, Amanda Chils, and I am so proud of you for choosing to step into your power. Come along, we've got dreams to build. Okay, my love, I have put everything that I offer for free on one page so that we are not doing more work than we have to, because why would we do that? Hashtag work smarter, not harder. So livemyhappyhealth.com/free. You are going to find everything I've created for not only leveling up in your personal life and building a life that you love, but leveling up in your business life and building a business that you love. Okay? livemyhappyhealth.com/free. Love you. Hello, sweet love. I hope that you are well. I hope that you've had some fun recently. Fun is one of my biggest values. And so I make a lot of decisions from the space of, will this be fun for me? And that's not everyone's value, which is totally fine. But life is a lot easier to deal with when you have more fun. So I hope that you have had some fun recently. And if it's not one of your top values, c'est la vie, everyone to each their own. But make some time to do something that's fun. And if you're like, I don't know what would be fun, perhaps something you've been interested in or something you enjoyed as a kid. That's not even the point of today's episode, but I do hope that you've had some fun recently. And I hope that if you are going through what feels like an endless night, you know that a sunrise is coming. And if you're currently in what feels like a spring afternoon where everything is perfect and you feel the sun on your face, then that continues for you. And speaking of sunrises, I was listening to a podcast with Sah D'Simone and Gabor Mate, who are both wonderful, wonderful healing practitioners. Sah D'Simone is a Buddhist practitioner who has a podcast called The Spiritually Sassy Show. And Gabor Mate is an author who was a physician and now is an author, although I assume he still holds a medical license, and does a lot of work around trauma. And they were on Sah D'Simone's podcast, and I was listening to them at the gym this morning. And Gabor Mate, Dr. Mate said something about trauma or connection not being a lightning bolt, that it's a sunrise. And I literally stopped mid-set, mid-workout, like I was actively lifting something. I put it down, I went to my phone, and I wrote down, intuition is not a lightning bolt, it's a sunrise. And the thing about trauma is that it disconnects you from your body. It disconnects you from other people. It disconnects you from your body. The hallmark of trauma is disconnection. And so when you heal trauma, you heal in connection. You reconnect to yourself. You come home to yourself. You reconnect to other people. Healing only happens in connection with self, with others, with community. It is the only way that it happens. If you never reconnect to your body, you never experience healing. And the greater your connection, the greater your healing. And they were discussing that concept, which is 100% accurate. And in my experience, when people begin reconnecting to their bodies, what happens? Well, there's a number of things that happen. Your nervous system understands, gets tuned for safety. Because if you imagine, like, if I cut your head off, your brain and your body are like, where the fuck is my head? And your brain is like, where the fuck is my body? And because you're disconnected, right? That's what trauma does. It disconnects your brain from your body. They're no longer connected. So if I decapitated you, that would be pretty stressful, right? Like, assume you didn't die, that would be extremely stressful. Your head would always be searching for your body, and your body would always be searching for your head. So healing happens by reestablishing and strengthening that connection, by coming home to yourself. One of the things I hear most often when people heal is that they find themselves again. There's a reason that that is one of the most common things that people say. And so when people start rebuilding this connection, a huge thing that happens is because they now again have access to their body, they start listening to their body. And your body is one of the most profound wisdom instruments that you can find. Your body will react to things that you are not consciously aware of because your subconscious is always on. Even if you think it's not, it is. It's always running and it's taking on infinitely more information than your conscious brain is aware of. So just the amount of data that your body and your subconscious take on are like fucking staggering, which means that it's reading it, all of that, it's processing all of that, it's making decisions on all of that. And you may notice that when people try and think of the right decision, they will agonize forever. They'll make pro-con lists. They'll talk to everyone they know. They'll, seek advice after advice after advice after advice versus just checking in with themselves and connecting to their own inner wisdom, which will give you the right answer always because your body has access to so much more information than your conscious brain. So once people start reconnecting with their bodies, they also again have access to this like never-ending fountain of wisdom, which is one of the most beautiful things, because what happens when you make decisions via checking in with your intuition is you always make the right decision. Now, I happen to believe that you always make the right decision at the time, given your resources and knowledge and experience and like opportunities available, but that doesn't mean that long term it's always the most aligned decision for you or the most enlightened decision. Some people make decisions that they're like, damn, like I really wish that I had not made that decision, but we always make the best decision we can in the moment. So what I 100% find all of the time is that when people are making decisions from their intuition, they are making an enlightened decision because they have access to their infinite wisdom. And a lot of clients at first think that intuition is this big, loud lightning bolt. Oh, I get struck by lightning. It's like if you've ever watched someone walk down the street and realize they forgot something and they like stop all of a sudden and they like check their pockets and they turn around. A lot of my clients in the beginning think that that's what intuition will feel like. They're walking down the street, they get hit with this lightning bolt and they think, aha, I have everything figured out. And that's not how it happens. It's not a lightning bolt. It's a sunrise. Your body starts showing you the light and it gets warmer and brighter and it honestly feels like watching a sunrise. So if you have ever watched a sunrise and if you haven't done it in a while, I highly encourage you to watch a sunrise or a sunset. Of course, either is fine. But the peace that you get watching a sunrise or a sunset is very, very similar to the feeling of peace that you get when you are making an enlightened decision, which is really all intuition is. It's not saying everything will work out and I'll have no problems and it'll be so easy. Like life still be lifing. So that's not a thing that happens. But the decision feels calm and it feels peaceful. It feels like an exhale. Whereas when most people try and make decisions from their head via pro-con lists, via this agonizing and the advice and analyzing and oh my God, it feels tense. It feels constricting. When you have access to your intuition, when you heal from trauma, i.e. disconnect, when you're reconnected, you have access to the whispers. And sometimes intuition really is like when someone realizes they forget something and they turn around and it really stops you in the middle, like at the gym this morning. It literally stopped me in my tracks. And I was like, fuck, that is such a good line. Like I'm going to make a whole podcast episode around it. And then here we are. So thank you, Sah D'Simone and Gabor Mate. So sometimes it is like, oh my God, this is the thing. But much more often it's a sunrise, and it just feels peaceful and it feels calm and it feels like, of course, this is the next thing I'm doing. So you may be wondering like, okay, Amanda, how do I do that? Like that sounds super nice in theory, but how do you do that? Well, the first way that you have to do that is you have to reconnect to your body. If you are actively in trauma drama land, that is not a thing that you have access to because you're not safe, which is, well, your brain is not perceiving safety. Let me say it that way. Now, if you are literally not physically safe, that is a different scenario. But if your brain is not perceiving safety because you are still reacting as if that trauma is happening, your nervous system is still very reactive, it is not yet grounded, it is not yet regulated, then that is really the first step. So really what I would encourage you to do is to do trauma work. Now, there are some, there's episodes that I have that will get you started with that. I would highly recommend a good trauma therapist. I would highly recommend something like rapid resolution therapy, which is a modality that I'm credentialed in now, which is wonderful. So I would highly recommend that. But you want to reconnect with your body. And that can also be as simple as sitting outside and noticing what you're feeling. Now, again, if you don't have practice in feeling your emotions, in surfing those waves, then it may feel overwhelming in the beginning. But if you think of humans as a pressure cooker, you're just releasing pressure so that you can re-regulate. And what happens when pressure cookers don't release pressure? They explode. Okay, it's not the vibe. So starting to check in with your body, doing the healing work, you can do it through me, you can do it through anyone. I don't particularly care how you do it, as long as you do it. Not that you have to, but it would definitely benefit you. But what I want you to remember from this episode, and this will be a quick one, is that intuition is not a lightning bolt, it's a sunrise. When you are operating from intuition, you're operating from a higher space of an enlightened decision and not just what is the decision that feels easiest or gets me away from conflict in the moment, which is where when people are operating in their trauma is their decision-making matrix. So when people are operating in their trauma, when they're in trauma drama land, and I say that with love, I'm not making light of trauma, although I am a little bit making light of trauma. When people are in trauma drama land, their only goal for decisions is, how do I release pressure? How do I remove pressure? Which is why people pleasing exists. You'll say yes to whoever's in front of you, even if your yeses are conflicting, even if you're overbooking yourself 1,000 times, even if it's really a no, because the conflict you're trying to get away from is them being upset with you. So you'll say yes to everything because it makes other people happy, because what the conflict, the scary thing is people being upset. People will drink or do drugs in order to avoid the pressure of sitting with themselves and healing. People will stay in garbage, abusive, horrible relationships to avoid the pain of leaving. So when you're in trauma drama land, your only goal is to avoid pain, which ironically in the long run guarantees that you have infinite, unending pain. So not the vibe, don't recommend, 0%, do the healing work, be happy long-term. When you're checking in with your intuition, when you're operating from that space, you're operating from an enlightened decision-making framework where the decision becomes, what is going to make me happy? What's going to bring me peace? What's going to make me thrive versus what will make me survive? It's a totally different way of operating. So what I want you to remember from this episode is check in with yourself. You already know the most enlightened decision that you can make, and it will feel much more often like a sunrise and not like a lightning bolt. And if this podcast is at all helpful to you, please consider, do me a solid, and leave it a 5-star review and send it to a friend. The more people that get this message, the better people are, which is cool because then you also get to be a lighthouse calling other people home. So we love that for you. I wish you peace. I hope that you check in, and I know that you're going to find it useful as soon as you start doing it. So go have a beautiful day or night or whenever you are listening to this podcast. Bye.